All right, guys, so I stumbled across this amazing exchange between Senator Josh Hawley and candidate for United States District Judge, Miss Kelley Brisbon Hodge, whom during this Senate hearing, Josh Hawley is going to question her about her views on affirmative action. Because as you guys know, the Supreme Court is set to hear some landmark affirmative action cases, namely the Harvard case in the case featuring my school, UNC Chapel Hill, in which they allegedly discriminate against Asian Americans and affirmative action practices, primarily school admissions. Now, you guys should know where I stand on affirmative action. I am against it. In fact, I think it's blatantly unconstitutional. I think it violates the 14th Amendment, the Equal Protection Clause more specifically, because it unfairly discriminates against Asians and whites. Okay, again, I am actually for true equality in the sense that I want equal rights for everybody. I don't want any special rights for a certain group of people. Also, on top of that, I don't think that black people need a booster seat to compete against everybody else, because I actually believe in the talents and capabilities of black people. I think that black people can compete, again, without a booster seat. Like, we don't need help, right? We're just as good as everybody else, okay? And we have enough resources in 2022 to compete, okay? I'm just saying, I believe that. Apparently, that's an anti-black position to believe in black people, but hey, it is what it is. However, the main reason why I'm opposed to it is just because it's wrong, okay? And I believe that discrimination against people based off their race is wrong no matter who it is. However, this woke judicial nominee, she refuses to admit that discrimination against Asians as a result of affirmative action policies is wrong, okay? But hey, she's supposed to be a race crusader. She's supposed to be fighting on behalf of ending racism, but she's totally fine with racism and discrimination towards other people as long as it's not her. And I think that Josh Hawley in this clip here does a great job of exposing her hypocrisy and cornering her with great questioning to make her basically admit that she supports discrimination against Asians. But before I get into it, I must let you guys know, my name is Greg Foreman, and if you like my channel, you want to support my channel, you can check out my merch, my donkeypox shirts, the disease that is affecting America, or my hashtag no days off / hard work patriotic t-shirts, or my MAGA Hub shirts. There's plenty of cool merch for you guys to check out at my website, gforemanbcp.com. You can get 20% off using discount code gforemanbcp. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll this clip.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to all the nominees. Ms. Hodge, I want to ask you about an article that you wrote for Bloomberg about affirmative action in universities. You argued that opposition to race-based affirmative action, I'm going to quote you now, is rooted in part in the belief that racism and systems that imposed barriers based on race in American society no longer exist, end quote. I've been under the impression that the argument was actually the opposite, that race-based affirmative action imposes race-based barriers on particular racial groups. Now, your article was about the Harvard case, so I take it you're familiar with that case.
Yeah, before I get into that, again, I just love Josh Hawley's questioning here, right? He flips it on his head to say, hey, no. You are supposed to be against race-based barriers that hold people back, but you're for affirmative action, which is a race-based barrier that holds people back, that gets in the way of people being able to achieve, okay, based off their skin color. I thought you were opposed. Again, he reveals hypocrisy immediately. I'm going to tell y'all something about Josh Hawley. I want to see a Josh Hawley presidency. I ain't going to lie. I like him just as much as I like DeSantis or Trump. And I would like to see the guy run for president, preferably after Trump or DeSantis in 2024. But if we can get a Hawley, 2032, I'll be totally fine with that, right? Or we can get 4 years of Trump, 8 years of DeSantis, and another 8 years of Josh Hawley. I'm just saying, I want to see my guy run for president, okay?
Is that fair to say?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. Yes, I was writing an article following the decision that was made by the First Circuit in that particular piece of Bloomberg.
Gotcha. So the court documents, court filings from that case, from the Harvard case, state that, quoting now, Asian Americans needed SAT scores that were 140 points higher than white students, all other quantifiable variables being equal, to get into these elite schools. The same court filings also show that Asian American students who had the same score as African American students were about 25% likely to get into Harvard, whereas the African American student was 95% likely to get into Harvard. So basically,
yeah. So if the African American has the same test scores as the Asian, okay, then they are 95% likely to get in. But if the Asian has the test scores of an African-American candidate, then they're only 25% likely to get in. That is a blatant example of systemic racism, okay? I'm just saying.
What the documents show is, and I don't know if there's much dispute about this, that Asian Americans are systemically discriminated against with these race-based policies.
Ding, 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 ding. Facts. But see, the race crusaders, the people that claim to be fighting against racism, they're totally fine with that racism. They're totally cool with it because it benefits them, right? Any type of racism that benefits them, they're totally fine with it. When it doesn't benefit them, it is the worst thing in the world, right? And we have to, riot in the streets because of it, okay? I'm just saying, you guys are starting to see how this works. Special rights, not equal rights. That's what these people want.
That's a problem, don't you think?
Senator, I will say, and thank you for the question, I'm not intimately familiar with the entirety of the report or all of the information that's contained in it. I know it is cited in the case. However, I would say that with the case that was before the court and currently now is on certiorari and coming before the Supreme Court, that the issue of race as a factor in admissions and utilized in universities is obviously what's going to be contemplated by the court, and understanding that the strict scrutiny standard is applicable. It would be a determination as to whether or not there's a compelling governmental interest, and if it's narrowly tailored to afford that interest for all who are asserting the arguments.
Yeah, but is it a problem? I guess my question is it a problem for universities to make it harder for members of a certain race to be admitted to their university, to do it deliberately? Is that a problem? That's what your article's about. I'm asking. You've expressed an opinion on this, so I'm just asking about your opinion. Don't you think that's a problem?
Senator, thank you for the question. The article was written in the context of really providing, in essence, a procedural roadmap of what had transpired.
Yeah, but you expressed, though, I'm sorry to interrupt you, it's just I've got so little time and I have the article in front of me. I enjoyed reading it. But you express your personal views, which is fine, by the way. I'm just asking about them. Your personal views on this case, and you say that the arguments of those who are arguing against Harvard's policies are actually anti-diversity. You say that they fail to overcome a principle that's of paramount importance to the country. I'm quoting you now: diversity matters, and its value is immeasurable, especially in education. I'm just asking you whether or not having Asian Americans present and able to be admitted on a fair basis with members of other racial groups, if that isn't in fact an interest that serves diversity. I mean, don't you think that that's important?
Senator Hawley, to your question, and thank you again for it, what has been stated by the court through years of dialogue and deliberation over this specific issue of affirmative action is that diversity matters.
And does that include for Asian Americans?
For everyone.
And that's your personal opinion too?
I'm stating based upon how the court has, I'm not putting my personal opinion. I believe that if I'm so fortunate to be confirmed to the district court, that my personal opinion would have no role in the deliberations that I would conduct.
Bullshit. I'm calling bullshit on that. Your personal opinion would totally have sway over your decisions. Totally, 100%, because you're a woke activist. You're a woke activist. And that's what Josh Hawley is exposing this judge as, a woke activist. Because you know damn well that you're totally fine with the discrimination against Asians. And you see how she just refuses to answer the question about diversity? It's like, hey, if you really believe in so-called diversity, don't you think it's important to admit Asians into school on a fair basis like everybody else, like all other races? right? So that they can, be a part of the so-called diversity that you guys claim that you love so much, can't answer the question. If you truly believe in diversity and inclusion, right, the true definition of it, not the woke wash definition of it, the answer to that question is yes, right? Yes, I do believe that Asians should be admitted on a equal and fair basis. But she supports affirmative action. She's going to make rulings that are going to uphold affirmative action in racial discrimination. As long as she benefits from it, her people, she's going to be totally fine with racism, okay? Again, this exchange right here is so fascinating because this woman refuses to essentially acknowledge her own hypocrisy on this issue.
I would base all of my decisions on the facts presented, the arguments presented by counsel and or the individual litigants, as well as the law, and apply the law and precedent to whatever's presented to me.
But surely you could agree with the statement at this level of generality that deliberate discrimination against Asian Americans is wrong. Is that fair to say?
Senator Hawley, I say that discrimination is prohibited, and people who are discriminated against under the law, obviously the work I also do in terms of employment discrimination, if someone is discriminated against based on a protected category, that is something that that's protected against under the Constitution.
But it's not wrong. I mean, you can't just say it's wrong. I'm trying to understand why you're splitting the hairs the way you're splitting them.
Senator,
because she supports affirmative action. And see, if she was to say that is wrong, she just said that discrimination is prohibited, okay? That you can't do that. If she was to say that affirmative action is in fact discrimination and that it is wrong, if she says that, then what she's also saying is that it's unconstitutional, which would put her in a position where she's now saying on record that it's unconstitutional, which she knows will go against whatever future rulings and decisions that she would make because she's going to try to uphold affirmative action, right? Again, that's the problem is she's getting caught up in that. And she's trying to avoid what she knows is not right. But again, she has special rights to protect for herself, right? And people like her, okay? She doesn't actually really care about real diversity and inclusion or equal rights or anything like that. She's totally fine with racism, discrimination, as long as it benefits her. And what these woke revolutionaries don't realize is that the only thing they're doing with this overt discrimination against white people and Asians, only thing they're doing is that they're just setting us up in the future, right? 30, 40, 50 years, where you're going to come back, you're going to have people that say, hey, we were systemically discriminated against, and therefore we're owed something. We're owed special rights and privileges because we were discriminated against. And they're going to use the exact same arguments these people are making.
Senator, I'm not splitting hairs. Discrimination is illegal.
Illegal. But you can't say
But my
wrong.
question to you is, discrimination against Asian Americans is wrong. Yes?
Discrimination against anyone is wrong. Yeah.
Judge Perez,
Can't say that affirmative action actually discriminates against Asians. Can't say that. Can't imply that. Right? Can't do that. Can't admit that discrimination against Asians is wrong. Again, amazing stuff, guys. These are the people that's fighting against racism. Okay? They're fighting against racism while at the same time promoting and upholding systems of racial discrimination. The same systems they claim they're supposed to be fighting against and trying to dismantle. Absolutely amazing stuff. Great job by Josh Hawley. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.